ask about your alma mater.
Uh-oh.
So, Mel Tucker.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that?
I love Mel. The number one thing I thought Colorado needed to do with their program is get tougher. They just were not tough. Late in the second quarter, in particular in the fourth quarter, late in the season, all those areas late, whether it's games or season, they were really weak. They got beat badly. They weren't strong mentally. They weren't strong physically. And I think he is specifically there to change that, whether from a culture standpoint or just from a physicality standpoint, from a mentality standpoint. And I think he can do that. He's a tough-minded guy. He understands how to recruit at a high level because he's been around it at the highest level, really, when you think about it, with Alabama and Georgia. And I think he relates to the players really well. Every single player I've talked to, whether it was former NFL players or college players that played under Mel, loved him. Loved him. I think that's going to pay huge dividends for him at Colorado. There's a couple of things he's going to need to do that I think are outside of his comfort zone, which is get really good recruiting Southern California. He's got to get back into Texas to recruit. And I think that they have to open up a stronghold recruiting, in particular, defensive linemen out of the Salt Lake area. And if they can do that, I think that they've got a chance to be really good. I know that was weird, that last statement, but if you look at the Pac-12 in general, the teams with the best defensive lines, Washington and Utah, generally recruit really well out of that that Eastern Washington, Idaho, and Utah corridor.
So what are some things that you think contrast him from McIntyre to Tucker?
Oh, that's a great question. I think just being a defensive-oriented guy, I know that Mac was a defensive-oriented guy and is now the defensive coordinator, but there just seems to be a different sense of urgency. Mac was terrific and had terrific success with Colorado, but there just seems to be a different sense of urgency, of toughness with Mel. And we'll see. And I think, again, Mike came from a place in San Jose State where I wouldn't say they were recruiting at an elite level. They were kind of recruiting for the level that they were at. Mel has had his claws into the most elite recruiting that's been going on in the country over the last 6, 7, 8 years. That's probably the biggest difference between the two.
What has you excited about them going into this season? They dropped
experience,
the last 7 games.
Yeah, experience at quarterback, health for Laviska Shenault, and the mentality that Mel brings.
What do you see in Steven Montez?
The things that he needed to get better at, he's starting to get better at. In particular, no quarterback ever plays well in retreat. A couple of years ago, that's all he did was just like retreat. Everything was, the first step was backwards. Everything was backwards. He started to get better at that, in particular when Laviska was on the field. So his confidence level with his weapons out there, I think, is solid. He's got a strong arm. He's athletic. He's confident. He can make every single throw. And if he asserts himself as a leader, I think that he can be a really good player.